And I know I haven't been live, and I know my subscribers are wondering that why I haven't been on. I do 2 lives a week. Well, a lot of interesting stuff has happened to me, and I'm apparently unwatched by villains. Villains is the best word. Villains for pre-Hemis. You know what I mean by that, pre-Hemis? The P Club, and a couple of P clubs who's linked to them. So funny stuff has happened this entire week that I feel like, should I share my screen? Should I not share my screen? Are they going to notice, right? So exactly on a Tuesday, right? Even though a lot of my mates are trying to help me build better security for, like, so that they won't trace me anymore, like through social platforms, and like find ways to kick me off. So it's funny how I go on Twitter and I start talking about certain things that is linked to what is today. But that taught me a valuable lesson, that how internet is a manipulation game. It really is. It's a manipulation game. They do not want you to know the truth. And manipulation comes from based on what you post on the internet, and you get a result from it as well. Sometimes what the internet says is not the whole story at all. Because I've said this before, I'll say it again. You can pay a tech like $600-700 to publish a narrative. You can use AI to edit a narrative and make something else up with it, which is currently happening with the narrative towards the Jews. I'm not sure for Christians. I don't really talk about them because I prefer a witness Christian next to me. But it's funny how things operate. Has anybody ever observed social media that, like, China is that one country that is shown less on social media? I didn't think this would backfire me. I really didn't. I really did not expect that from social media, to use me as a victim card to target. And that just made my situation like hell. It really did make my situation like hell that it is. First, my Facebook, right? I started getting weird like glitches. Okay, I thought it was just my Facebook. And my page is literally new, like the Words&Wonder page for me to publish quotes and things like that. 2-3 weeks later, I get a notification in my email that, is this you? I'm like, yes, it's me. Who else could it be? And so I start sharing stuff from Instagram to my page, and I find out something is disconnected. I'm like, I didn't disconnect anything. I mean, it's a direct share. Whatever you put on your Instagram, it's supposed to appear on your Facebook page because you physically connected the technology. It's supposed to appear whatever you publish. So I did tests. I tried disconnecting. I tried reconnecting, all the basic tests you are supposed to do. And I'm just like going to my Instagram again, and I'm like, why is not my quotes appearing on this page? I'm like, what gives? And here I am looking at my Instagram that my personal page is connected. And I'm like, I didn't do that. So anything I publish is supposed to appear on this page. And I'm like, I did not do that. So I'm like trying to find ways to disconnect it to a point that I went into the settings. And now this is recent. I wanted to just delete my Words&Wonder quote page that I made on Facebook. And I'm getting glitches that this is not possible and we cannot do this for you. And I'm like, okay, log out, forget password. Can I change my password? And it's not even giving me the option to change my password. It's just like automatically go in there, but no options to change your password. Now that makes me really like curious, like what the heck? Okay, then Twitter. When I started posting stuff about regime, even though I published Russia first, I published IRGC first, and all these other regimes I published many, many months from now on my Twitter. But when it came to cheesy Chinese food, I'm going to say Chinese food, that's when still stuff started to tilt. And I'm seeing all these bots attack me on social platforms just for revealing the regime that how Chinese food eats, like, babies and things like that, and how people cannot get pregnant there, and all these social bots attack me out of nowhere. And I'm like, who are you people? So I blocked them. I blocked anything I could. And this game was so unpredictable that you think for a minute, like, where'd you guys go? So I go on my block list to trace them again, like, where are you guys? To show X that these were bots. These bots, they vanished and they left my platform in front of Twitter like it's some kind of a threat platform or whatever. So Twitter completely deleted my page. Fully. Not even my photo left. Just head to foot delete everything I've ever published. And I just went into blank mode. And they're like, okay, you can connect your phone number and get in there. So I connect my phone number and I'm like, where is my code? My code always appears on my telephone. And I'm just like, where is it? It could only mean one thing. They disconnected my authentication code that is linked to it. And that's how they got a chance to pretty much delete my entire page, my photos. So like now I'm in a new page. It's the link you see below. Feel free to follow me. Now it's so unpredictable that if I want to put my profile pic, how you guys see me here, they won't even let me put up my profile pic. It's like they know who I am. They don't want my face to appear anywhere. Anywhere. They don't want my posts, publish my face to appear anywhere. I'm surprised, like, if anything happens to me on YouTube, you guys won't know what happened. If YouTube decides to suspend me or anything. This social media, it's a play, okay? It's only good until they want you to keep the stuff up. And the stuff. Like, this is where it makes me really suspicious. To be frankly honest with you, rather you have million followers, I've seen million followers, people get suspended. They don't really care about the Israeli content creators because that narrative is working. Oh, you guys are paid, you guys are Zionists, so they don't really care about the Israeli content creators. But creators like me, and I've been getting bots attack me even on Instagram. Somebody should read the comments I'm getting. Oh, you're being paid because I published like the undercover journalist AI picture that how I was attacked. And they're like, oh, we know who's paying you. I'm like, nobody's paying me. I just know technology. And they're like, oh, so who's paying you and how do you know this much stuff? I'm like, this is deep history and I looked into it. And many of my friends say that if they were to ever catch me in person, they would like, everybody knows what that means. They do this to me, what technically is happening to all my platforms. Let me see if I can show a demonstration by sharing my screen. This is recent. And I'm just amazed how things are monitoring. Let me pull up the thing and let me see if it's going to let me do it. I'm going to share my screen and show you guys solid that what this stuff is doing to me and how people are seeing this. Let me share my screen for X, okay? This is my new Twitter, and I'm going to be really, really careful what I'm going to share on here, okay? But I want people to have an idea what they are doing to me, and people think it's some type of, this shit is real. So here we go. I'm going to go to my Twitter, and I am going to literally start changing my profile pic. Watch what happens. So I go to my screen, this right here, edit profile, watch. Just for putting up a profile pic. You think this is crazy, but it's real. Apply. Save. Save. Your profile is under review, and you cannot update your profile at this time. So I'm like, are you serious? So I can't even post my like anything related to me. That was just a logo. Screw my face. That was a logo, and I cannot put that up. That's how crazy this shit is, and they're literally watching me all over the place. So that's when you know this shit is real. When they monitor you, and half of the stuff that I publish, I'm not even getting like, my viewers are invisible. Like they show up after a certain time, maybe like 5, 6, but when I actually click the analyst, it shows like, let's say 80 or 50 viewers, but actual post, it's like they're shadow banning the viewers. So you think for a minute, okay, something's not right. They really are watching this shit. And crazy as it is. And my advice to people, rather you're the biggest content creator or you're the richest content creator, you guys, I advise you to have a backup plan, because this shit, it is real. It is real. And many of the people who I've asked, who were experts in content creating, like basic stuff for security, they're like, okay, make sure you have protection and things like that. I already have that, but that's not the problem. That's not going to stop them from finding ways to suspend my channel. It's like I have never got a shadow ban on any of my videos, because I share it and you can see the creator right next to it, right? You can see the creator right next to it. But like, my recent video linked, it literally said, oh, this is not a copyright. We're just like giving me a dumb excuse to take it down. It's not a copyright, but it is. It's not. And that's not where you're getting red flag for it. You think for a minute, okay, if it's not, then why are you guys taking my channel, right? So it only had one thing that was very interesting. It had things related to the West and Afghanistan. That's the only documentary. Now today I'm going to show a video. I'll be quite surprised if somebody marks this one. Call it a miracle. So I'm going to start from the militant nationalists, and then I'm going to share stuff from my Twitter page. And I'll call it a miracle if somebody flags this video. I will. Let's go. Share my screen. I'm going to put up YouTube, and I'm going to share stuff from YouTube. And I'll call it a miracle if somebody flags this shit. Share my screen. Add to screen. Make it big. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Let's go down, and I'm going to go to my history, the videos. Let's go to history. So we're going to watch the first one, which is linked to Iraq.
The king who fought for his people's freedom was murdered by the freedom fighters he trusted most. It's 1939, Baghdad, Iraq. A 3-year-old boy becomes king as World War II begins. King Faisal grows up watching British companies steal Iraqi oil profits while his people stay poor. He builds schools, roads, and hospitals. He pushes Britain out of oil deals and supports Arab unity across the Middle East. By the 1950s, he's the young reformer every Arab nationalist admires. He believes Iraq can be free and modern. For a time, it seems possible. But young military officers meet in secret, planning revolution. They share his dream of independence, and he trusts them completely. On July 14, 1958, tanks surround the royal palace at dawn. The officers he considered allies storm inside. The 23-year-old king who dedicated his life to Iraqi freedom is shot dead in his own home. The monarchy ends forever. The Arab nationalist who was betrayed by Arab nationalists was King Faisal II of Iraq. The king who fought for his people's freedom was murdered by the freedom.
So as I reviewed before,
Allahu Akbar.
The king who fought for his people.
Yeah. So, okay. As I reviewed before, is that these nationalists, they don't really care for anybody. Their whole goal is to pretty much launch a military caliphate. And that's what they intend to do. So as you can see, he was shot in this documentary. And it's not the first king who's been shot. This story, it is real. Then I'm going to show you my Twitter page, what I published recently, to understand how far does this go. It is not today. This thing is not suddenly 1400 years ago as people are interpreting it. No, there was a before and after story from all of this. This is the before story, how the kings welcomed the Jews, and Jews actually helped build the community during the monarchist time. They helped it. Now, how did this things twist the page? Like, how did stories start to turn around? Well, I'm going to get there. Did anybody picture Morocco? There's the similar story to Morocco, too. When Morocco is the first country in the Muslim world to welcome the American independence. So does Morocco has the story? Yes, it does. Let's go to Morocco. Morocco has a story, too. Okay, review, manage all history. Is it going to let me go? Oh, dang it. It's not going to let me go, is it? But like, let me pull it up and take this off my screen. This thing is like messing around with me. And like, so let me pull up the Morocco video. So like, my point is that people need to study this stuff because this stuff is real. It has happened throughout time. Not a lot of the people know this stuff, and not a lot of the people are aware about it either. Because if you did, you would understand this is a pre-planned thing. In the early days, when the West was new, and like if you go back into time, places like China, the Brits, the Russians, and all this like that, back in the early days, they were really powerful, which is where the empires actually took place. But when the West came along, West made its way up, and they started to lose allies, and people started to close more towards, well, the West. And how does this display? So check out Morocco. Now I'm going to show you Morocco, what happened in Morocco. Not many people know this, but this is Morocco. The screen right here. Let me show you at the screen. Make it big. So check out Morocco. This was Morocco. Same militant leader who tried to target Morocco.
The king's most trusted enforcer became his deadliest enemy. It's 1972, Rabat, Morocco. General Mohammed Oufkir serves as interior minister to King Hassan II, crushing every threat to the throne. For 15 years, he eliminates rivals and silences dissent. His loyalty seems absolute, his methods ruthless. Opposition leaders disappear, protests end in blood. The king trusts him completely. But Oufkir grows disgusted with royal corruption and the king's iron grip on power. In secret, he plans the ultimate betrayal. On August 16th, Royal Air Force jets suddenly dive toward the king's birthday celebration. Machine guns strafe the palace grounds as troops storm the gates. Hassan hides in a bathroom as bullets shatter windows around him. The coup seems certain to succeed. Then loyal forces rally, the jets retreat, and Oufkir's plot collapses within hours. That night, Oufkir dies of mysterious gunshot wounds, officially ruled suicide. His intimate knowledge of palace security made him the only man who could threaten the throne and guaranteed his destruction when he failed. The king's perfect weapon was Mohammed Oufkir, the king's most trusted enforcer.
There you have it. Not many people know this information, but yes, so same thing happened in Morocco. So if you were to connect the dots together, so from 1776, when America was new, it made its way into the world, everything. So some of the monarchies, like the King of Morocco, also welcomed the American independence, but there were militant nationalist groups who did not like these things. They did not like the American way. Remember my last stream that YouTube blocked? That had a really red flag pointer in there that people do not want you to know about. In the early years, okay, I'm going to show you on my Twitter. In the early years, based on what you see Iran from the Ayatollah regime, from Pahlavi's time, the truth is that's not what the Iranians look like. Pahlavi, when he was in charge, he welcomed the Western culture because that's what Western people, if you were to go back in time, the Iranian people don't actually look like that. They have their own culture roots that not many people know about. You go on like places like Google, you go on places like, even though people don't like to use this stuff, AI stuff, or anything you could possibly think of to give you a source. It's going to show you what the Iranian people actually dress like. That's a preview. So I showed you a video that YouTube took from me. Is that in Afghanistan, once upon a time, they also welcomed the West culture. And when they welcomed the West culture, there were villains in the story who did not like that culture. And the story is very the same. People just don't see it yet. It's the same. There are many monarchies, like, for example, Mohammed bin Salman. He believes that in 2030, he wants to modernize Saudi Arabia and make it similar to the West. People do whatever, dress whatever, believe whatever, right? Reza Pahlavi wanted to do to Iran the same thing before 1979. And there's Moroccan king also did those things. But there are nationalist groups who don't like this. And the bill is the same. The story is the same. You can see today, just know what they say. Death to America and like death to all these things. And they want to take the American culture down. Why no other Christian country? Why not Britain? Why no Portugal? Why no Venezuela? Why no any of these other type of Christianity? Why only America? Because back in the early day, when things came into these countries. And that's what I showed in my last video, that YouTube blocked from evidence. They want to take this down. So I'm going to show you my next thing that I published on this page. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to translate what I published. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen again on my Twitter, even though they don't want my face appearing anywhere. But they need to catch me in order to, you know, get rid of me. And I'm keeping my stuff very in line to play with their system. But yeah, so let me pull up Twitter. Okay, x.com. We are going to go in, and I'm going to share my screen again and let you guys see. Share my screen. Share. Let's put it back to the scene. Okay, so here we are inside my Twitter, and what did I publish? So we're going to go in there, and I'm going to review some stuff with you guys. So stay tuned, y'all. I'm going to show you some interesting stuff in there. Okay. Keep doing this dumb thing. It keeps doing weird stuff. It's funny because I put the publicity. Now you verify my account. I'm showing you publicity, this retarded thing. Okay, so here we go. Let's go down. I'm going to start off with the basic things. The basic things all the way down. Let's start with his speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Western civilization, and the United States in particular, is at risk. I say this because...
Yes, because back in the day when Pahlavi was in charge, he did welcome Western civilization, which is why he's going to say that. He welcomed it into Iran. And how before 1979, Iranians all welcomed the Western civilization, but that's not Iran's personal civilization itself. Iran had its own culture, but welcoming, which means welcome means you can dress like the Western people, wear what they wear. So yeah, Pahlavi did welcome that. So listen away.
This is exactly what happened to my country 45 years ago. Iran, you might say, was the testing grounds for what my late father called the unholy alliance of the red and the black, radical Marxism and radical Islamism. These two ideologies converged not to create, but to destroy. Indeed, to destroy the very notion of Iran. As the Ayatollah Khomeini himself, upon his return to Iran, said, "Patriots are of no use to us. We need Muslims. Islam is opposed to nationalism, because nationalism means..."
Okay, so here's where I'm going to translate. So Ayatollah's version, because once upon a time there was the Byzantines and other Christian empires that did the same thing to the Jews at one point. You got to read about those things, and Russia has too. So in ancient time, and even now, nationalism is like a mini version of like remember the KKK, the Christian nationalism? Talk to a Christian about that. But yeah, so any religious form, especially the militant nationalism, means you oppose religion on other people. When he sees, like when he says he wants Muslims, he wants all the Muslims to bow to this ideology. You don't bow to it, you are gonna be killed. And that's what happened to many of the kings, many of the Muslims throughout there who didn't want to follow it the way Ayatollah is leading it. So listen away. I've been saying about nationalism has how important play nationalism has, and nobody believed me. I just showed you Morocco. I just showed you Iraq, how the monarchs were killed. Well, here's the monarchy of Iran. Same concept.
Means we want a nation, nationhood, and not Islam. He quickly put his ideology into action. Our National Consultative Assembly became the Islamic Consultative Assembly. Our conventional national army was shunned in favor of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The lion and sun symbol, which adorned our national flag for centuries, was replaced with Allahu Akbar. This united front of Marxists and Islamists took hold of my homeland, but was never satisfied with just taking over Iran.
Of course not, because throughout the years, and I do mean the years, throughout the years, the militant nationalists were never satisfied with the Prince of Iraq when it wanted to build a civilization for Iraq. That's the same thing for Morocco, but Morocco took a stand much earlier compared to others. When the Moroccan king found out that his own trustworthy militant advisor is the main villain to the story who wanted to kill him, you can see Moroccans' views change after that, that you're toxic yourself and you create an ideology to kill me, the king? Yeah, Moroccan king took a stand after that. But Iraq's prince couldn't take a stand that quick, so the story continues. This is the monarch for Iran. Same concept, how it wanted to give Iranians a civilization. Even if it welcomed the Western culture, it still wanted to give people a civilization. But some people, they didn't think like that. Some people wanted this monarch to be dead, and I'm going to show you Prince Mohammed bin Salman's too. What he's saying now is Mohammed bin Salman's vision for 2030. So a lot to understand about this.
These two ideologies do not believe in the concept, much less the border of a nation. Indeed, the Islamic Republic in Iran does not view itself as defending or limited to the borders of the Millat, or the Iranian nation, but rather the Ummat, or the Islamic Brotherhood. This expansion has gone far beyond the Middle East. Every day, we see graphic, distressing images of the consequences this regime's expansion has brought, all the way to Europe and the West. From looting universities that were once the envy of the world, to supporting terrorist cells taking hold in Europe, to attempting to annihilate Israel, to expanding its criminal footprint.
Okay, so let me recap this a little bit, okay? Ayatollah, evil he is, he's a beast if you freaking look at it, but Ayatollah is not the only one who wanted to do this. It was like Assad's father. Everybody knows the great content creator Abraham Hamra. He gave me some information about Assad's father, and when I looked him up, oh boy. So all these militant nationalists killed the monarchs because the monarchs believe in a civilization versus militant nationalists who believe in warfare and impose. For example, even though I don't talk about the KKK because I don't want to cause discrimination on my channel, KKK, or when people say Christian nationalism, same for Islamic nationalism, you enforce laws on other people based on your faith. And all this, if I were to show you a before and after, which I'm going to show you my Twitter as I scroll down, is that there was a civilization, but it was erased by the militant nationalists because Iranians had their own identity even before the West arrived. They had their identity before even the West was even created. What you see in the 1800s till now is a Western civilization welcomed into Iran, and Pahlavi was a part of that.
To Latin America. This is not an accident. This is the Islamic Republic's political strategy. I invite you to read yesterday's statement and grave warning from the Director of National Intelligence on this matter. Sadly, this has all too often been ignored by many in the mainstream media and the fellow travelers who have come to dominate the commentariat class. Even this week, we are seeing this fifth column of the Islamic regime rear its ugly head in the media to try to convince you that the Islamic Republic's new president is a reformist. He is no such thing. He is nothing but a loyalist and lackey of this regime, and a proponent of its radical imperialist ideology. As he publicly wrote...
Now let me tell you two main villains who do support this regime, even though I had a discussion with my friend who's a Christian retired teacher and one who's also Jewish. I asked her a very open, honest question. Based on sources and how these in here, do you people honestly believe you can outnumber them? And for that, could the Iranians be free, which is really concerning. It is seriously concerning. I'm not even lying about this. Dead seriously concerning. Russia, China, and I'm not sure for India tomorrow, but I'm not saying because India is the most loyal, but it can be stuck in the middle in both directions. It doesn't matter if it chooses right or left, but let's leave India aside. But China and Russia, if you study about leadership, you will see that the Russian leaders had no interest in Pahlavi. No, they have nothing to do with Pahlavi. You ask yourself, but why don't they like Pahlavi and they like Ayatollahs? Because in ancient times, Russia did the same shit too. Russia imprisoned women, Russia tortured women, Russia jailed women, and they had no rights. And I wrote an article about that Twitter deleted. I specifically wrote an article about that, how Russia's regime was. China, I'm going to say this quietly, Chinese food, eat it up, eat it up, eat it up until the spice hits your tongue. And it did hit your tongue when it came to children. Did you know there was a point in China that there wasn't enough women, and if males could not get married because they made it into a law is that you cannot have a baby girl. It has to be a baby boy. Second pregnancy called a miracle. If you survive, you cannot have more than one kid. For that, it caused problems for people to, especially the men, to ever get married because there's not enough girls in the country. Now, second strategy, you would think all these places, they supported regimes like this. So do they care about Pahlavi? No. Do they care about anything what Pahlavi wants to do with the nation? No. Do they support Ayatollah? Yes, because they have done the same thing. They oppose Western culture. They support these type of disgusting things throughout time. It's about power, control, and what keeps things in control? A narrative. And I say this all the time. People have no idea what they're talking about. This narrative is a serious manipulation narrative, and they have the internet fully into their control. You play with the game, you expose narratives that's towards them, you're busted, which is what my channel was taken down for. But yes, and my question is to the people, asking my friends, do you honestly have full faith the Iranian people are going to be free? And without a fair fight, they're not going to do something to Pahlavi, knowing they hated him from the start to finish. Not now, but since start to finish, they hated the guy. Do you really think they're not going to come in the line? Yes, they are. And they said me one answer, God forbid I'm wrong, God is more powerful, is that they feel Iranian people are not going to be free without a fair fight of the villains. There's more villains to the story than just IRGC itself. Listen away.
To the Hezbollah Secretary General, reiterating the regime's commitment to its proxies and their terror just this week. Indeed, the rise of radical Islam around the world can be traced directly back to the success of the Islamic Revolution in Iran and the establishment of this usurping anti-Iranian regime, backed by a minority and sustained through oppression and violence. The problem that began in Iran must be ended in Iran. But do not mistake this as a war between Iran and the West, nor a call for one. It is neither. This is not a conflict between nation states, but the war of a radical internationalist ideology on all nations, from the Iranian nation to your own. Indeed, it was the great and historic nation of Iran that was the first victim of this unholy alliance and of the resulting Islamic Republic. For 45 years, Iran has been taken captive, and my compatriots have been held hostage. They have been held hostage not by American sanctions or Western policies, but by radical Islamism. But Western political elites have indeed been accomplices, not only in my compatriots being held hostage, but accomplices in the crimes against your own citizens and nations. The chief accomplice of the Ayatollahs in their violent march to their global caliphate has been American political naivete about the true nature.
Okay, so here's something I am going to share that not many people know about. So in 1979, even though some idiotic Muslims are brainwashed, In 1979, when Ayatollah took full power of the Iranian people, this is where I say that heritage does hold a play, because that heritage really close to Pakistan. You can ask any Indian creator, did the Pahlavis go against India? Yes, they did in ancient time. Even though India, India and Pakistan take their independence together from the Brits, but that's another day to talk about. But anywho, so due to that heritage of early years, India and Iran and Pakistan were always connected. So in 1979, when Ayatollah took place, it did bomb Pakistan too. Now the question is, how did it manage to buy its leaders throughout time that Pakistan is so radicalized? And that's a mystery behind the doors to discover. But yeah.
Of this regime and European guilt and fears of Islamophobia. You do not have to fight the war against this poisonous and murderous ideology on your own, but you must be aware that it is waging war against you. I do have good news, because there is an army rising up against this poisonous ideology, this unholy alliance. That army is the Iranian people, the united Iranian.
Okay, I'm going to say one answer, and I honestly hope, may God protect the Iranian people. Once upon a time, there were many nations, but Iranians took a stand for themselves. I'm going to say it again. May God protect the Iranian people, but that does not mean there's villains. There's more villains behind the story. And they're not going to take a defeat that easy, because their goal is to knock down West. And they have nothing to do with the Iranian people. Until their war lives, the Iranian peoples are going to have a difficult time being sandwiched.
People. Today, I come to you with a message from that rising army, that nation under captivity, those citizens taken hostage. The Islamic Republic may have taken hold of Iran, but it has never taken hold of Iranians' love of country. Today, Iran, inspired by our ancient history and our great civilization, is in the throes of a national revival, a national reawakening, a national renaissance. Iranians are proud, strong people with a proud, storied history, and are not willing to lose it to this unholy alliance. As my compatriots on the streets or at the tomb of Cyrus the Great chant, we will fight, we will die, we will reclaim Iran. But there are those who stand against them. There are global interests who would rather see the Islamic regime in Iran stay in power. They are making too much money, taking too much advantage, or perhaps it's simply too convenient. I know this because I've had powerful men, wealthy men, well-connected men tell me to stop the fight, to give up the effort, because they have grander global plans at work. Some want to keep the regime in place forever. Some want to light the country on fire so that...
So I'm going to answer this question. Even though there's nobody who doesn't support the Iranian people, but those who believe in the war against the West and the Western culture and almost anything linked to the West, they're not going to have the same views as the prince. There's slight possibility, yes, that they can uplift the regime, as you can see recently on Twitter, which is not a good sign for anyone. Recently, that Russia has signed an agreement with the Taliban, which is not a good agreement at all. It can refill the Taliban up any day, anywhere. Now, what is it going to use the Taliban for? We don't know. Until these places have the power, they're going to lift up any power organization to outnumber the West. And until that lives, which is sad news, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope God protects the Iranian people, they're going to be stuck in the middle. God prevent, but yes. And I can only pray that Pahlavi does what he does, but it's not going to be as simple as it seems.
of its inevitable explosion. They can create statelets over whom they can play the role of benefactor, master, or God. But I will not stand for this, and I will not give up, for my compatriots deserve better. But do not be mistaken. This national reawakening is an Iranian project, not something to be cooked up in Washington, London, Berlin, or Paris. So why am I here with you today? I am here with a message from my compatriots, a message from the Iranian nation. My friends, the people of Iran would like to see you in the United States as a partner. Their message is that
that's the problem. That's like the red flag problem. So let's say, for example, Pahlavi welcomes the United States tomorrow, as Mohammed bin Salman also considers the United States close allies. You're going to see content creators like Dr. Huda Ali on Twitter talk about the U.S. all the time, things like that. But these militant nationalist groups hate the West and they want the West destroyed. So if, just like the early days from Faisal to Moroccan King, anybody who increases relationships with the West is not just suddenly today. It's been from the 1776. So in 1776 till now, if anybody creates any deep relationship with the West, these people are going to go crazy and they're going to create what they done years ago, kill the leaders, murder the leaders, as these mullahs who stayed in Pakistan, when some of the Pakistani people themselves are not really proud. They just want a civilization. That if Asif Munir, even though he's not the best guy in the world, that if he shakes hands with the West, these radical people in these organizations, they're going to kill him raw. So Pahlavi says that, oh, gee, Westerns are allies. That's where the beef comes in. So listen away.
That they seek not an entangling alliance, but an alliance of shared values and mutual interest, one which will serve Iran's true national interests and your own. Indeed, Iran is one of the few foreign policy questions where the United States can squarely align its interests with its values. While its dictator has attempted to brainwash Iran's youth with daily calls of death to America, my compatriots take to the streets and say, death to the Islamic Republic. And our enemy is right here. You lie when you say it's America.
Yes, I'm going to say he's not wrong, because they have attacked the Gulf Club. Even though in the early times when Pahlavi was in charge, the Gulf, they were okay with Pahlavi. They didn't have like a bad relationship either. They were fine. It's just Pahlavi believed in freedom. So like back in the early day, Mohammed bin Salman's father, he had his own views, but that does not mean that the people were in bad terms with Pahlavi. And all of them were in good terms with the U.S. But where do these nationalist militant leaders come from? They have a war against the West because, just like how I stated, the KKK nationalist movement or Christian nationalism, same for Islamic nationalism. Nationalism movement's a toxic ideology, dude. Religion and nationalism movement, just like Hitler in Germany, it should not be used like that. But they've been doing it. They killed their own people. They've been doing it for years.
When the regime puts American flags on the ground, my compatriots refuse to step on it and walk around or jump over it. And this is not a new phenomenon. Iranians are the only people in the Middle East who poured onto the streets on September 11th, 2001, to mourn alongside you and to stand with you.
So that was the 9/11 incident in 2001. So let's do a recap a little bit. I feel now is the right time to do a little bit of recapping charter, and I'm going to see if I can pull up sources. So like, let's do a little math, okay? I'm going to pull this up. New things before I play the rest of the video, and two more to show, but I'm going to pull. So first question, and I'm going to share my screen. When did the militant nationalists took place in, and I know I have haters watching me like, how do I know this? But I just did this on my own. Throw the monarchs. Now, Jews lived with them, okay, if anybody's wondering. Jews were there. Okay. Okay, so here's our first answer. I'm going to share my screen. Here's our first answer that we are looking for. Share my screen. There we go. Okay, there we go. So here's our first answer that we are looking for. When did it take place? So let's do a little bit math. That's Prince Pahlavi saying that Iranians were the first people to help you when 9/11 took place. Okay, so the militant nationalist movement in Muslim-majority countries became specifically in the 20th century, particularly in 1950s, 1970s, inspired anti-colonial struggles and ideas of Arab, Turkish, Persian, and other national identities. Now, in the 1800s, remember when I reviewed in my last stream before people took this, YouTube took that shit down, military often list leaders often challenged overview the monarchies. Example, the rise of Gamal Adil Nasser. After 1952 revolution in Egypt, the 1958 overthrow monarchy, so Iraq got thrown, Libya got thrown, Yemen got thrown, and then of course we all know Iran in 1979. And after that, now the red flag question that everybody would love to see. After that, and I'm sure there's many agencies watching me and hate me right now for exposing so much information. After that, how many wars did they do towards United States? Simple. So like a list of wars. So major military conflicts involving the United States government, majority countries, rise of the nationalist movements, including the Gulf War against the 2000 war in Afghanistan, and the cause of 9/11. 9/11, cause of 9/11. There you go. So, okay, back to up here. Let's review, go back up. So here it is, 1952, 20th century, 1950s, 1970s. They threw out the monarchies. Then go all the way down. They led the September 11 attacks. And in 1990s, toward Iraq. And September 11, Al-Qaeda, and killing nearly 3,000 people in the US. So these militant nationalists had the pre-plan. So if you jump down all the way up to, well, late 2020 and 2023, it was pre-planned again. And hello, well, as we all know it, it is called the October 7th. But yes, they pre-planned it again and made it to target Israel this time, critical than ever in history. And it's the same pre-planned game again. Use a narrative to manipulate the Americans and, well, play the game, because if the narrative is distracted by other narratives that I just told that my platform was taken, that's going to ruin the game now, isn't it? So you really got to understand the math and the timeline from all of this and how stuff took place. So let's look in. Back to the video. So it's amazing how all this stuff took place, and not a lot of people know this stuff, but that's the truth to this thing right here. Not many people know it, but that's the truth thing to this game. Add to the scene. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this and watch it.
They have continued to see both their compatriots and yours killed in aimless conflicts the Islamic Republic has brought about in the Middle East. And they are offering you a solution to free yourselves of these conflicts, rebalance the region, and solve the issues of the Middle East with a Middle Eastern solution. Because while the Islamic Republic seeks to spread its radical caliphate across the region, my compatriots denounce this imperialism and respond with shots of neither Gaza nor Lebanon. My life is only for Iran. They are tired of having their once radiant country run like a radical cause. They want a government that cares for its own and does not spend blood or treasure meddling in foreign wars as it has in Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Yemen.
Yes, so let's review what he said as I showed you on my screen. So after like knocking down the monarchies, then the Shia Caliphate leaders took place. And some of the, if you read Iran's history away from everything back at the Pahlavis, yes, Iran has some stuff. I don't really talk about it because I have Armenian friends. It's mainly their problem, not really mine. Is how Kurdish people were part of Iran, but then Kurdish people had a problem with like Pahlavi. So Sunnis have some role, but not all of it. And there's a difference between militant nationalists supporting a militant league, just like KKK, Christian nationalism, versus Islamic nationalists, supporting this movement. So that's where some of these leaders come in. So 90% of these leaders were Shia. Yes, some Sunnis supported the militant movement, but when it comes to changing society, like Saudi Arabia didn't allow it, Morocco didn't allow it. The king was already warned when the militant leaders tried to kill the king. Iraq was not warned, so they took the king down. The monarch of Iran was overthrown. So it's a pre-planned game, okay? Those who know what their society was, they're not going to let the national militant leaders win. And I'm going to get to that part after because I showed it really openly, and I'm going to show how that took place because I made an AI capture of how children's and how Hamas leaders think today and what was society before. We're going to get that after, but stay tuned here.
They want to return Iran to being a nation state, as we have been for more than 2 millennia. How can all of this happen? My friends, we are not seeking your intervention. We are not seeking your charity. I am not here to ask for your permission to get rid of the Islamic Republic, nor am I here to ask you to do it for us. The true Iran, the ancient Iran, and the soon-to-be free Iran doesn't seek your patronage. It seeks your partnership. It doesn't seek your funding. It seeks your friendship, because our interests are aligned in the most unique of ways. So, as opposed to the growing threat of this unholy alliance of the red and the black, what, my friends, might a partnership with the Iranian nation look like? What will it look like when the sovereignty over our ancient nation is returned to its true sovereign, the Iranian people? Iran will once again be the anchor of peace and stability in the Middle East, so you can finally bring your boys and girls home from faraway lands, but with dignity. Iran will once again be the center of prosperity in the region and a safe haven for foreign investment, not foreign aid. Iran will once again be an ally of the United States and a close partner of both Israel and the Arab states, and see the Abraham Accord.
Okay, so that's what they don't want, okay? So remember when I reviewed that the Gulf states, there's a difference between the monarchies and versus the nationalists. So The monarchies, just like how Prince Reza Pahlavi said, that we believe in a civilization. That's what the Gulf countries believe in too, believing in a civilization. Okay? So, like, for example, like anything nationalist, like there were Christian nationalists who believe in like Jesus is everything and Jesus is the way to live. Same for this. Islamic nationalists. So they believe Islamic is the only way to live, no civilization, no school. Your job is to the whatever the religion says. So that's how the Christian nationalists were too. Your job is to the religion, screw the government, screw everything, nothing. You don't listen to the government. I've seen people say that before. So no. So if you are talking about making allies with Israel without having to forget, so like Assad's father, right? Where Abraham Hamra told me about Assad's father. Assad's father didn't believe in a society. Assad's father hated the Jews when Jews lived in all these places with the monarchies. The Zionist movement did not come until the 1800s, the political movement, and even though they've been rejecting to have a Palestinian state for a decade, their only war is why did the Jews get one? That's the debate. That why did the Jews get one? And when these militant organizations, like I'm going to show you a picture after a speech, that what do these people think like now versus the past. So they believe, okay, how are you invaders when you were living here? They're two separate things. The monarchies let you in, you lived here, and the monarchies allowed you to stay with them. And if you read of the Holocaust took place a little bit after 1776, and you would want to study in that, like everybody's like, oh, look at this Ali Husseini, the Mufti, right? The Mufti. Well, an interesting thing is that not a lot of the monarchs supported his movement against the Jews. And some of them is still the same. As you can see, not monarchies, Moroccan welcome the Jews. Jews are okay in Morocco. UAE welcome the Jews. You're going to be a safe Jew in UAE. So it's like stuff is reversing, but they are not convinced to let it go fully. And that's basically what he's saying. It's not, he wants it, but the operation is not going to be that simple as he's saying it.
Hopefully grow to the Cyrus Accords. Iran will once again be the engine of progress, the defender of freedom and righteousness, not the spreader of terror and evil. You notice I say once again, because this is nothing new. This is the type of relations our two nations had before, particularly under the leadership of my father and President Nixon. Then, Iran sought peace and productive relations based on mutual interest with all nations. We were friends with America and its European allies. But we also maintained a balance.
Many monarchies were. I just named one. The Moroccan monarchy king welcomed the American independence. Many were. You just got to read into time.
Foreign policy by having stable, cordial relations with the USSR and China. We worked with both India and Pakistan. We had relations.
Bingo. Yes. Yes. That's no lie. Remember, tech can pay a computer, any of these agencies can pay a computer tech and use AI to change the algorithm. But that's not the full story in history. Books can tell you that. Books will never change.
With both Israel and the Arab states of the Persian Gulf.
They have.
Iran kept the peace in the Middle East, and we can help to do so again. But what is missing? What has prevented this until now has largely been an American policy on Iran, guided by intellectual naivete, based on the false premise that you can change the behavior of those who believe in such a radical ideology. But this is not a conflict between nation states, but against a radical, destructive ideology that cannot be negotiated with. This ideology cannot be reasoned with. It cannot be changed. There is no better deal to be made. It must be defeated, which is exactly what my compatriots have been fighting for. Perhaps some of this makes you wary. I know. It should. Some conversations like this in decades past have led your political leadership down the wrong road. In Afghanistan, when 70% of the country's post-Taliban tribal parliament wanted to restore the constitutional monarchy of Zahir Shah.
Yes, that's a famous thing right there, because the monarchy, if you remembered my last stream that YouTube blocked, unfortunately, that had all the information that this guy is talking about. That had it all. What I showed before leaving to my trip, that stream had it all before YouTube blocked it. What this guy's talking about, my stream had it all. So yes, the king, he welcomed the West culture, and there was once upon a time West culture in Afghanistan too before the Taliban invasion. So he's 100% correct, because I made a stream about that stream that YouTube blocked, but yes.
Because his people saw him, even in his old age, as a symbol and source of national unity, the American administration denied this national claim and this sovereign right. By forcing an inauthentic Western construct on a society with its own traditions, norms, and means of governance, the result was corruption, chaos, and collapse of the state.
And Afghanistan's been stuck since, and now it's 2026. And Afghanistan has become so critical that only a miracle if America agrees to ever beat the Taliban, then to shake hands with it. That's the only way Afghans will ever get free.
It was a devastating mistake, the consequence of which we continue to see today. This did not achieve security for America, nor was it successful in defending your values. Today, terrorist attacks are once again launched from Kandahar, and women are once again enslaved in Kabul. Because although America's aims may have been well-intentioned, the failure to listen to Afghans led it down a road to hell, paved with those very same good intentions. Only a few years later, in Iraq, Washington's political elites' arrogance and ignorance subjugated Iraqi national interest and sovereignty to small-minded sectarian interests that not only failed to unite the country, but further divided it. Citizens of Iraq were forced to see themselves not as Iraqis first and foremost, but as members of their religious sect, their ethnic group, or their clan, before seeking themselves as co-equal citizens of their nations.
Well, he's right about that, because the nationalist movement started with Iraq first. Hello Faisal, remember? He's not wrong about that. He watched it all because he's a monarch himself for Iranian people.
And let us not forget that all of this was brought about with military force.
Ta-da! Did I not say that? He just said what I said. All this shit was bought from military force. Militant nationalism. Let me repeat myself. Exactly what he said. Militant nationalism. And those are the militant nationalists killed the monarchies, killed them raw. And even today, in some people, they may say it's radicalization. That word works, but technically, it is the militant narrative growing into the Muslim countries that needs to be terminated. The more it grows and grows and grows, and I'll show you a sample of it afterwards, after a speech, is that the more it grows, the more radicalized the Muslims are going to be. And it starts with their dressing, and I'm going to show you a sample in a minute.
Let me make myself clear. That mistake should not be repeated in Iran, and I will not stand for those radical few who might advocate it, Iranians or Americans. But there is another path to this partnership between these two great nations, Iran and America. A path that rejects appeasement of the radical Islamists who have taken Iran hostage and are taking their war to you right here.
It is not just them. Before, even though I understand Persians don't feel this way, but believe me, it is not just them. The Iraqis, places like, anybody know Miss Iraq, the famous Queen Miss Iraq? Iraq too, because until the militant nationals there, the Iraqi people cannot have freedom because they're going to choose war. until the Taliban's there, the Afghan people are never going to be free, and more people are going to be radicalized by the militant narrative. Just like he's saying exactly what I've been barking on here for a year and a half, even though my proof is getting erased out. But that's exactly what I'm saying is what he's saying right here in this video.
Here on American soil, a path that rejects war and the imposition of inorganic Western construct on a proud and ancient nation. This new path, this third way, requires maximum pressure on the Islamic Republic and maximum support for the Iranian people. Iranians are not seeking a handout. They do not want you to change their regime for them. They are fighting on the streets and cities of Iran for their right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and to reclaim their most treasured inheritance, their nation. What they want is for you to stop emboldening their captors and killers by sending them billions of dollars. And as opposed to bring about peace through strength, bringing about chaos through weakness and appeasement. My friends, you have a fight on your hands. But your fight is not with the nation of Iran. Your fight is with the radical ideology of the Islamic Republic and its defenders right here in Washington.
That's right.
But you are not alone in that fight, because it is the same fight Iranians are fighting every day on the streets of my country. In the fight between the Islamic Republic and Iran, my compatriots have chosen to step forward, to accept the call of history and fight to reclaim their nation. So have I, and I hope you will join us. For as Burke said, when bad men combine, the good must associate, else they will fall one by one. Being with you just a few days after we celebrated America's Independence Day is quite fortuitous, because some 250 years ago, as he authored the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson did so inspired by the values of the Iranian king Cyrus. Iranians have never forgotten.
So, yes, Thomas Jefferson was part of that. He was also part of the agreement when America and Moroccan shaked hands in 1976, because Moroccan was the first Muslim country to welcome the American independence. So all these monarchies go way, way back with America. But the question is, where does the divide and the toxic ideology come from? So yeah, you're digging into it very deeply.
This connection. And today, as they fight not to create, but to liberate their nation, they are inspired by your struggle for freedom and love of country. Our two great nations share this special bond. Great civilizations, true nations, never remained subjugated. And we Iranians will reclaim our country. As this eventuality becomes a reality, be with us in this fight, not as our patrons, but as our partners, not as our founders, but as our friends. For our battle is won. Thank you.
So that was his public speech that he gave in 2024. Half of the stuff I already reviewed, and here's the same version in the Arab world, which Mossad posted it, would be Mohammed bin Salman's views, same as the Pahlavi.
He wants to create his own project in the Middle East, very much like Hitler, who wanted to expand at the time. Many countries around the world and in...
Scene that you called the Ayatollah.
He's the other version of Raza Pahlavi, so listen to his views and see what he has to say. The modernization that Pahlavi's looking at, Pahlavi started earlier in the 1970s, Mohammed bin Salman plans it for 2030. So listen away. He feels the same views. He's a monarch. Yes, he hates the Ayatollahs.
Scene that you called the Ayatollah Khamenei, the new Hitler of the Middle East.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he wants to expand. He wants to create his own project in the Middle East, very much like Hitler, who wanted to expand at the time. Many countries around the world and in Europe did not realize how dangerous Hitler was until what happened happened. I don't want to see the same events happening in the Middle East.
So, let me review something very important. So, as he said that Hitler is the bad guy, even though some people do get mixed with certain Arabs and think Arabs are all exactly the same, that's a big no-no. They are not the same at all. So many of the monarchs, like the Moroccan king, who's a monarch, who was before Prince Reza Pahlavi, an Iranian monarchist leader too. Some of the monarchs actually went against Ali Husseini, who supported Hitler against Jews, which would be the weirdo narrative they believe in. Zionists, that Hitler killed Jews, and Ali Husseini from the Pali world supported him. Well, the monarchs didn't support that. They were against that, which is why they favored Jews against Hitler. And I'm going to review that in a bit. But yeah, 3 monarchies, I'm reviewing them today, and they hold a major role from the past of the 1700s.
Does Saudi Arabia need nuclear weapons to counter Iran?
Saudi Arabia does not want to acquire any nuclear bomb. But without a doubt, if Iran developed a nuclear bomb, we will follow suit as soon as possible.
Seen that you called the Ayatollah Khamenei the new Hitler of the Middle East.
So that was Mohammed bin Salman, and this is what I put for him because it's historically true, as Mossad said. And like all these leaders that you are seeing today, like here's the Moroccan king, if anybody paid attention to the Moroccan king, what he said in terrorism for these leaders. That would be the militant nationalist who's playing the game here. In the name of Allah, kill you, blah, 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 which you see every day. In the name of Muhammad, kill you, blah, blah, blah. Just like Christian nationalism was in the name of Jesus, do whatever. But yeah, nationalism is a toxic ideology, dude. So like, you know, it's all a game here, and I know many people like don't see it that way, but trust me, it is. So now here's what I wanted to show you a little bit back into time, away from what these guys says. Now that the ideology is so powerful, it looks something like this, what this guy is saying right here, which is, it's like the manipulation is so critical you can't convince it. This is the US former Marine visits bomb school in Iran, and he's enjoying the Palestinian caliphate. In my opinion, he has no idea what he's doing to support this caliphate.
And what do? We have a pedophile president covering for the Epstein files, slaughtering children in a satanic ritual sacrifice for the Jewish state of Israel. The Jewish state of Israel owns my birth nation. I say shame on you forever for this. And I say Donald J. Trump needs to hang for treason according to the Constitution.
Well, he has no idea what he's talking about because this stuff took place many, many years ago, and Jews were a part of it. What he doesn't know is the movement that he's supporting is also the movement that tried to kill monarchs years ago. And I should know, when I went to my trip, I asked my driver, who was a retired teacher, I'm like, where is this education in US textbooks? I asked this to my friend who was a retired teacher. I asked everyone. Instead, we have something like this in our textbooks, which seems way out of control. But like, yes, like as of now, we are studying the Palestinian narrative in schools, which is your stuff is going to look like what happened to the Middle East when militant nationalists took over. Here's a slide I made from AI. Like, look, why monarchies refuse to take their way and find them harmful. So here are all the Hamas leaders and all these leaders that joined them, like in one side versus the monarchies. Here's Saudi Arabia, King Farouk of Egypt, and this one is from Jordan, King Muhammad V, which goes way back into the times of the Holocaust. Sheikh Ahmed, which is Kuwait. So all these leaders refuse to take their ways because they know what happened to the early kings. Like Faisal died, the Yemen king died, which is why Yemenis taken over by the Houthis. This ideology is not going to let the monarchs stay because some of the monarchs did support the West, and these militant nationalists, in the name of Islam, just like how the Moroccan king said, in the name of Islam, we need to impose and enforce it on people. That's what the KKK was, enforcement. But that's their way of gaining power. You enforce it on people, you are making money, you're using the internet to enforce and manipulate people, watch your power grow. Now, if I expose Chinese food, I like to call it Chinese food, goods, and they're how the dish is made, which would be the regime, and how I showed people about their regime, then I'm making people read about the curtain behind doors. Those are the regimes they do not want people to see. They want people to see manipulated under Palestinian education. You expose other regimes, any other regimes, it's gonna exactly what happened to me on here. So as we go down and fly into time, even though some of the stuff you guys have seen, but there's a point why I'm showing this, and I'm gonna review the slide that I published. So here's Hamas, the weirdo.
بكفيكوا تسخين في عندكم يهود في كل مكان يجب أن نهجم على كل يهودي متواجد في الكرة الأرضية ذبحا وقتلا بإذن الله سبحانه وتعالى 7 مليون فلسطيني برا بكفيكوا تسخين.
So here it is. So take Hamas back all the way up to the time of why Muslim monarchy is considered Ali Husseini, the militant leader who supported Hitler, a threat. Okay, and here's the slide, and I'm going to go through it. Maintain diplomacy, protect the nation from war and occupation. Invested in their people, education, infrastructure, and economic progress, which is what Prince Faisal died for, which by an organization. And the monarchy king was killed by his own trustworthy militant officer, but the Moroccan king survived and took a stand. Many monarchs protected the Jews and the minorities during World War I. Muhammad V, they rejected the Nazi ideology, racial hatred, and violent extremism against these guys. And then the main goal was peace, security, and well-being. And the story is technically the same today. Look, Saudi Arabia may not have said yes because it fears the storm. Jordan may be talking to Israel under the table. And this is words from Jews. Even talking under the table, just under the table by a phone call. The Jordan king has gotten threats. It's been threatened so badly that it had to run to the UAE for protection. What happened to militant nationalism spread? There are all these flags that you see today, and many people were displaced. What is their way? Met with Hitler in 1941, hello Holocaust. Supported the Nazi Germany movement against the British to kill Jews. And promoted extreme nationalism, anti-Semitism, and anti-West propaganda with Hitler, and encouraged uprising, terrorism, arranged revolt against establishments and the government. Wanted to replace monarchies, which would be these guys. He wanted to throw them out and rule based on ideology, not tradition. And the ideology is the Palestinian narrative, the militant ideology. Hello, world. So it is increasing extremely. If people still don't understand that it's time to wake up. You're under a military manipulative narrative. They don't care. So like here he is, as you all seen this video with Hitler, just like my slide. And remember the Holocaust? So these monarchs took a play in the Holocaust. There's Ali Husseini and Hitler, 1941, destroying British influence and preventing Jewish homeland. Jewish homeland, when Jews lived here. Okay, let me repeat myself. Jews lived here. He wanted every single Jew sabotage in the monarchy's land. He didn't want a single one. He wanted every single one sabotaged for the Palestinian narrative. That's where these monarchies come in. So Muslim leaders who did not support him would be, even the Saudi Arabia leader did not support him. King Farouk of Egypt did not support him. He remained under the British influence because these are the monarchies that had link with other nations. Germany and avoided influence of Hitler. Amr Abdullah, the king of Jordan at the time, closely allied with the Britain, fought against the Axis influence, and he opposed extremist ideologies and stability and peace he chose. Moroccan, the king we already know, he chose to protect his Jews, and he refused to join Hitler. Kuwait, reminded in the British Spare did not support the Nazi Germany. Same for Reza Pahlavi, not the best sketch, but that's him. Reza Pahlavi, he did not support Hitler. And the King Ghazi, king of Iraq, and Sultan Timur of Afghanistan. So you think for a minute, yes, Jews lived here. I keep saying this over and over and over and over. Jews lived here. Maybe not in Saudi Arabia, but some other places, yes, they lived there. And this guy supported a militant nationalist movement. For that, it spread and spread and spread, and it wiped out the people who were not Muslims. That's what nationalism is. That's what the Christian nationalism was. Oppose anybody who's not a Christian. That's what Islamic nationalism is. Oppose anybody who's not a Muslim. So this militant nationalist guy made sure it was official. And this is what the monarchists feared, because it is a threat. He doesn't want them either in power, because they worked with the nations. So as you spent down today, this is history which is increasing, and it's not a good sign for the world. Let me tell you that much. This is children today. This is what children preach. In school.
نحن مع غزة لمواجهة الجرائم الإبادة والتجويع لنقول لهم نحن سوف نشرب من دمائكم سوف نشربها شربا ونقول لكم يا أمريكا سوف نزلزل بكم وسوف نزلزل أنفسكم وسوف ننهيكم وسوف نجوعكم ونقول لأمريكا اللعينة التي تمتلك السلاح النووي والله.
Honestly, if I see my kid do that, I would want to spank it hard. Like, what the heck are you talking about? Who's been teaching you stuff? I would not let my kid out of the house. Like, who the heck have you been hanging out with? And who told you that? I would show them who the real boss is the parents. And I would give it a smack in the face that, what did you just say? And what do you want to just do? But since they don't believe in these type of things, they don't believe in a civilization, they don't believe in morals, they don't believe in respect of another being versus a stupid political narrative, if they don't respect their own people as humans, what makes you think they'll respect anybody else? And this is the military narrative that is expanding. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to wake up. This is the military nationalist narrative that's taking place. And if you don't wake up now, at some point you're going to be manipulated, which is expanding in America, which is terrible. It needs to end.
وأنا بالبيت العنكبوت الله أكبر الموت أمريكا الموت إسرائيل الموت النصر سنقاتلكم في كل ميدان ونترصدكم في كل زاوية ولن نفلت من بأسنا محتلا أو عميل هذا وعدنا وهذا وعيدنا.
Look, so instead of wearing like a traditional shalwar kameez, or even screw Western clothes, just her country traditional clothes, what is she wearing? The military uniform. Look at that. So the military narrative is expanding so much that people are becoming military soldiers versus their cultural identity. That's scary, dude. That's not a good sign for anyone. The military narrative, who hate the monarchists, who hate civilization, who hate schools, who hate history, who hate anything related to a real civilized world versus a military narrative. You better believe it. And more kids are learning. The kids are transforming into a militant object versus an actual culture identity. Look at this video. There she is wearing a militant cap. This is ridiculous, but historically it is true.
معكم لنا مباحة سيوفنا مشرعة حتى نطهر الأرض من رجكم ونعيدها طاهرة طهورا. الله أكبر الموت لأمريكا الموت لإسرائيل اللعنة على اليوم.
And Let me review their sentence. Hello, source. Let me pull it up. So, militant nationalists hate Western culture. True or false? Just simple answer. True or false? And I'm going to share it. And that's what's in the world. Simple paragraph. It's amazing how a narrative can expand so much versus history itself. And those who preach the truth, so like, let me pull up my screen, even though this thing's lying to me, you know this is true. They don't want the whole thing to be revealed, but it is true. It's no damn lie. It's true. It doesn't want to show me the whole truth, but I'm going to share it anyway, partially of it. So let's bring this to the light and share my window. Okay. Share. Okay. So here it is. Partly true, but not always. You know it's true. Militant nationalist movement opposed what they saw as a Western political control, forging intervention, cultural influence. However, many national leaders adopted the Western technology education system. Those would be the monarchies. Military organization, ideas, modernization. Their main goal was, which is the monarchies, even though this thing is incorrect. Their main goal was usually national independence and strength rather than rejecting everything Western. As a result, some nationalist movements were strongly anti-Western, while others selectively embraced aspects of the Western culture. Then those would be the monarchies who welcomed the Western culture, but are militant nationalists, no. And that is exactly what you're seeing the militant nationalist movement expand into America, which needs to end. It needs to end before it is too late, because America is going to come into a dump hole, exactly how it happened to the Muslim countries when these militant nationalists took over. That's the dirty truth, but hell yeah, it is. It's the whole truth, because once upon a time, even though people act like, oh, Jews invaded, no, Jews lived there. They were there until these militant nationalist organizations arrived and they exterminated the Jews. And what set them on fire is for Jews to ever have their own state. That not many people believe, but that is the whole truth, even though they don't want to accept. But that is the truth. So listen away, even though it's disgusting, it's nasty, but yeah. And what does it transfer like? Go all the way down? So here it is. Killed Muslim kings, and as I showed my early stream regarding the Morocco and also Iraq, Muslim kings who supported the West. It opened a trade modernization kingdoms, built relations with the West. Some sought place in progress for the people. The military nationals inward power of hatred. Spread propaganda, accused the killings and sellings out. So as you see, with example would that be is how militant nationalists like Palestinians cry, oh, look at how many Palestinians died, or how many Iraqis have died, and look at what happened to Sudan, look at what happened here, but not say their part. That would be spread propaganda. Promise true Islam and justice, but justice will also require justice to your people, give them rights, which they do not do. Planned coups and assassinations, as they did to the monarchies. They killed the monarchies throughout the years, murdered them, assassinated them, tortured them, and throw their seat in power, which is what Mohammed bin Salman said, that I fear what they're going to do, and I fear what Ayatollah is going to do. Exactly what Prince Raza Pahlavi said, that these militant nationalists, they are not about any humanity. They're about a militant caliphate that must stay in power and knock down the monarchy's power. Used religion to manipulate masses. So manipulation would be, you are forced to wear what they tell you to wear, forced to do what they tell you to do, forced in fear, live under the way they want you to live. That's their ideology. Assassination comes betrayal to bloodshed. People were turned against their own kings. That would be the radicalizations thanks to their ideology, as the videos I just showed on my X, what's happened to children, what's happening to the U.S. leaders who are giving Palestinian speeches in Iran for Hamas. Come on, man, it's a chaos. You're losing it. Muslim monarchies were destroyed. The allies of the West were erased, and that's exactly what's happening in America. They are erasing everything They are making everybody turn to the Palestinian narrative. They're making everybody fall for something that is not true. It is not true. It's an ideology made by these guys for decades. They killed their leaders to launch their power. And now I'm going to go more down. The last thing I probably would like to show is something very interesting, if I can catch it. Right here. So, like, he was the first leader who radicalized Pakistan, this militant leader. Zia, he was the cause for Pakistan's radicalization. And I'm going to go down if I can catch it. The thing that I want to show, which is very important. And it teaches how the Iranian culture took place. If I can catch it. So I hope people really understand that things didn't start off like this as people see it. It's a whole game. Here it is. So during the 1800s, especially from 1920s to the 1970s, such as Iran, Afghanistan experienced a major modernization, cultural change to increased contact with Europe, which what Prince Reza Pahlavi said. I'm showing it exactly in the AI photo, what Prince Reza Pahlavi said into a portrait. Okay, so it was this, and I know I already showed this in my Afghanistan stream. So it started off with the Western culture and how things changed and evolved, okay? So this was Iraq. This was welcoming the culture. Extremist nationalism turned into this photo. I'm not sure if I can zoom in. Can I click it? Yes, I can. Okay, so here it is. This is what they look like. This is the Iraqis. This is the Western culture coming. Muslims, Jews, Christians. Muslim, Jews, Christians. And militant extremists made them wear see the burqas? Yeah, the burqas. They're by the militant organization. Afghanistan, this is what they look like. Welcoming the Western culture, this is what it looked like. And this is the militant Taliban dressing code, what they made the people wear. And here's the story for Iran. Now, what was Iran before that? Iran had its own identity before even the West arrived. Not many people know about. So everybody who follows this video, so in the 1800s to the 1900s, the dress code changed and the militant organizations, this, what you see in the photo right here, before the burqa, that's the Western culture clothes they are wearing, okay? So they made these civilizations erase the burqas and adopt into extremist ideology. And here's a picture of it. I'm gonna click it and you're gonna see it. So here's the Western culture clothes, and the militant organizations made Iranians wear this in the name of religion. Here's the Western culture clothes, made the Afghanis wear this in the name of religion. Enforcement to erase Western identity in the country. Here is Iraq, Western culture from then, and then in 2003, militant nationalists made the Iraqis erase the Western civilizations that the monarchies welcomed and made them wear burqas. So and here it says, thousands of years of civilization turned into a rubble, which is true. Schools, universities, closed for burnt. They were all burnt and destroyed. Oppressed women, taking away voices, silenced, lives controlled. And the story continues. Ban arts, culture, what the monarchies gave. Music, cinema, all the stuff that content creators cry about. Oh, Islam doesn't allow you to see a movie. Islam doesn't allow you to listen to music. Or Islam doesn't allow you to go there. You are absolutely right because of their narratives. I'm showing it in front of your eyes. All these militant nationalists took all rights from their people. Every single freedom in existence, they took rights from their people. Before their arrival, they adopted the West culture, and the West culture looked like this. So their goal was, before anybody gets into West culture, which is nothing bad, they just hated it. So they took the rights of their people. Now, where does it end? What was it before their takeover or invasion like that? Their invasion, this is what they look like. This was civilization for Iraqi women and Iranians right here. This was their identity right here. This is Western civilization. Before the West, they had another identity, but this is Western civilization in Iran. See, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, just like how Pahlavi said, embracing educating monetary science, rights, and progress, 20th century, 1870. So after American independence, hello history. All the Muslim countries welcomed Western civilization, including the Prince Reza Pahlavi's father. But what was their identity before? Well, before the Western civilization into their countries, they look like this. This is the true identity of the people. True identity of Persia. This is the true identity of Persia, even though the sign's in the way. Afghanistan, and yeah, this was the true identity. And then after militant nationalists came, it turned like this. What you see right here. Minus their true form and made it like this. What you see when people get scared, like, oh, Islam make us wear burqas. Yes, it was enforcement to delete their actual dress code. For people to be manipulated. Oh, this is it, and you live in the dress code that we tell you to. This is the identity, you live in the identity that we tell you to. Because what I'm saying on here, I know that I have many villains on social media. What I'm saying here is the actual truth. This was society. This was true identity. This was true identity of everybody. And it all started when Western civilization took place into the Muslim countries and the monarchies welcomed it, and the militant nationalists had a problem with it. Not many people understand that, but that is the historical truth. So if you understand today, say, look, now you can see it. Here's Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq. Do you see them in the Persia? This is their cultural identity of the country. The photos you've seen after 1700s till now, that was the Western civilization culture into their countries. As soon as that came, militant nationalists had a problem with it. Why is that into our countries? And that's where the war, it all comes from. So I hope people have a better understanding how things work, but that is the truth. I know my platforms are on watch based on what I'm showing, but I want people to understand the truth, and that is the truth, what I showed in there. And do I have comments? I'm going to share. Who are my comments? I'm pretty sure I respond to all of them. Let's see the comments. Oh, it's my friend. Yes, I know that, what do you call it? People were against Pahlavi, but I don't really get into that. I mean, it's 2026. Maybe things have changed. I can't say. But let's hope he gets a seat first. The guy needs a seat first. It's not that simple, but this is the truth behind the curtains. And as I demonstrated, that militant caliphate is expanding. People need to wake up, wake up. What you see in America is a militant caliphate, exactly what the militant nationalists want Americans to do. Fall for it, expand it, make Muslims believe that they're part of this caliphate. They're not. That's how Muslims got radicalized, by their caliphate military teachings versus the monarchies who believe in civilization and all this stuff. You don't understand any of this, you're not going to understand this war. That's the best way I could put it. They're going to keep targeting Christians. They're going to keep targeting Jews. Best demonstrations when monarchies had a debate by not supporting the Hitler movement. Only Ali Husseini, who was part of the movement of expanding the militant caliphate, using the Palestinian cause with Hitler and making Jews get killed in Muslim countries. But Muslim countries didn't allow Hitler to do that to them. Even though Ali Husseini wanted it for the Palestinian cause, they didn't allow it. The conflict is still pretty much the same, but you got to understand the game. This thing is a game of chess. If you know how to play chess and the movements, you're going to understand everything. It's no just, oh my God, it's the end of the world. It's a whole chess game about narratives, whose narrative is going to stay in power, whose power is going to remain, and whose power do they want taken down. And it's a war against the West of power, and there's many supporters in this mess. Best way I could put it. So I'm going to end my stream and land my plane there. And people, do me a favor, just follow me on my new Twitter. I know I don't have 700 followers anymore due to what happened to me. And I can only pray that this stream does not get flagged. I revealed a lot of information in the stream, and I can only hope it doesn't get flagged. Because half of the stuff I said in my Afghanistan stream, I repeated it in this again too. Take care, you all.